This is a complete guide to how to fix your mental health. Mental health, I define in the same way that Michelangelo said about his statue of David. And this is apparently a glorious, perfect statue that people think is great. And he said David was always there. He just had to chisel away the stone. And that's what I say about mental health. We've got to undo these life experiences, all the information that we've gathered. I'm going to get into exactly how that works, because there's feelings we have and there's also thoughts. So if your mind's too busy all the time, you've got to be present, but not to be suppressing thoughts. You have to deal with all them and to live in a state of bliss and have an ability, if you ever do get stressed or something, you're able to recenter yourself. So the issue that people have with mental health is they're not taking all the variables into account. There's rules. There's always a reason. Everything in life is cause and effect. So in 2010, I qualified in neuro-linguistic programming and hypnotherapy. And I have now worked with people from teenagers to seniors. And I've lived in different parts of the world. I've had associates, friends who are healers, GPs, all kinds of different jobs, and normal everyday people as well who know a lot, have very good states of mind. And unfortunately I was able to see and work out how this all worked. And there was a time, I'm not going to get into it now, when I had mental health issues, there was something missing, and it only got to the point where I had every factor. Was there a continued content feeling that stayed? So I've got it. Watch these videos. It's gonna hopefully, well, it will. Yeah, listen. If you don't understand anything, just get it, because if you understand it, that's why this is written word for word. Message me. I'm convinced. I know it's true. Just look at my eyes. You can probably see it. So yeah. So these variables. Cognitive, which is thinking. A lot of people are stuck here. Think positive. Don't think too much. Yeah. Biology, the body. Completely ignored. People go yoga and they're really enjoying it, but they don't understand. They don't understand why. They have problems in their cognitive, and they go to yoga, and they're stuck forever going to yoga because they're not dealing with what's in the mind. Behaviour. What you're thinking is affecting your behaviour. Your biology affects if you can carry out the behaviour. And I'm going to be going through behaviour throughout, as it's not so obvious immediately. Environment. Largely misunderstood. Not even considered by mainstream, whatever the mainstream thought is. Same as spirituality, which I didn't write on there, but I thought, no, I'm going to include it because I don't care what anyone else thinks. I know it's true in my sense. Could be wrong, but the principles are right. And it's you denying it. When people deny that, none of this, even if all this is right, they're not happy. So it could be metaphors, the things I'll be talking about, and that'll be right at the end if you don't necessarily agree with spirituality, you don't understand it. It's basically a connectedness, and it all fits together. You can be your own judge, but I've got it, so listen up. 2, feel unhappy is to feel a loss of emotion. Emotion is energy and feelings that arises from an individual's mind. The information and settings in the mind will construct different emotions, such as confidence, motivation, or optimism. Spirituality. People make spontaneous remissions and don't do anything else other than focus on spirituality. And this means that individual whatever your definition of spirituality is, wait until I define it later. Like patients that have been ill, had problems for years, and when they get to the personality, the individuality, miraculous recoveries. So take everything into account, find what works for you, and you'll be there. One can feel unhappy for a single moment, and most individuals are able to recenter themselves and put the occurrences into an encompassing perspective. Yeah, so something happens, something goes wrong, right, shaking it off now, everything's fine. That's normally how it works. However, problems occur when the moments we experience are longer than a few minutes, a few hours, so this is continuously happening, or the losses are quite strong, like it's a big thing that's happened, because it changes the settings in the mind, how we view ourselves, how we view people, how we view the world. The strength of a loss is measured by the extent to which it changes the original information settings of individuals over time are able to recover and return automatically back to those original settings. So if something goes wrong, it might be a few weeks, maybe a couple of months, but then the individual can get back on track. They can start to change how they see things again. Sometimes. While we are able to have some control over these settings, regardless of environment, if we take someone who knows nothing of psychology, they are very much subject to responding to how that environment or the people in it affect the individual's settings and information. Because that is affecting the cognitions. That is affecting the biology. People talk about stress and they're not doing anything about their bodies because they don't know. A door, if we say that door is under stress, it's the body. The body is under stress. So there's posture to take into account. There's so many different factors. If the individuals continue to stay in an environment where these settings are fixed this way, or they continue to experience losses, so the settings keep dropping, then they'll continue to experience a prolonged low period, or the repetition of constantly returning to this low period. The emotion of depressed is your body saying to you, something is wrong here, and you are supposed to be happy. But people don't act on that response as they get stuck. We'll be covering why that is. So your feelings are really important. Behaviour is meant to be responding. The emotion of depression is a chronic condition as a result of prolonged or intense periods of being depressed, which requires work, but which is the subject of all of this. This happens as our brains and our bodies are flexible, so they physically change over time, which is called neuroplasticity. So it's really best if we never allow ourselves to be in circumstances that cause a low period or get out of them as soon as we can. This is why people say things like, I don't feel like myself, and there's a change in a person because they're constantly going to this low period, or they've been stuck, and eventually their brain changes. The solution for chronic conditions is to release stored emotion. Stored emotional hurt, physical pain, by dealing with the root causes, which can happen through therapy, conversation, and releasing emotions from the physical body. All that I'll get into. This stored emotion can also be a reflection of unacted upon dissatisfaction or enthusiasm as a result of continuously having to accept an environment or influences from it. So, numbness is a problem. When people become numb, the feelings that are supposed to drive them that are not felt as much. And that happens because of the continuous suppression. There are factors as well, such as, I believe, TV, the lifestyle people have where they sit at a desk, or they get home and they stay seated. If they're not taking their body into account, that's another reason. Is a coping mechanism when people learn to suppress. I believe TV and computer games cause the brain to change. So people are very much in the mind. They're all up here. The way the West is with a lot of things, we're not connected to nature. There's electricity that runs through the ground, through grass. If you've got bare feet on it, you can feel how all this emotion changes. And again, and fear, stress, straight to the brain, and it's adrenaline, and it's fast twitch muscles. It's not the same depth and relaxation. Again, you look people walking down the street, everyone's just walking really quickly. It's caffeine society is affecting this. So we need to learn to feel again, which is a bit of part of the biology and the body. Lack of blocks and numbness. Okay, so back to the information settings. And this is a brain. We've got big black dots, and blue dots, and green dots. The black dots represent, if say this is like a negative, like a pain. We're going to delete all of these, edit these, release the emotion from these, perhaps change the settings of how it affects how they see the world, and then you're left with all the good emotions, and also neutral, just things like what a road looks like. And it's the perceived loss of time, effort and energy. So losses occur, we can process it unless it really changes the world view, like the main settings in the brain, which we'll get to later. Okay, an emotion. There's something blocked, some kind of emotional hurt or some kind of psychological concept that is blocking what we feel we've lost. And I'll be going deeper into this throughout. This is going to go in cycles as I explain other things and come back for another understanding. So again, unacted upon dissatisfaction, people settling and having to grit their teeth through things they don't like, even though their body is saying, this ain't right. Eventually they stop feeling it because people ignoring the signals. Same with enthusiasm. Many feelings already within you are going to be useful, and motivation is great to access, as I believe it is the opposite of depression. And increasing this feeling is going to help you change the external circumstances that cause you to be depressed. Many people are struggling today with a bad deal. Some jobs are a lot harder than others, and they may be working extremely hard, not having much to show for it, as their income is low and these days rent and mortgages are high. So there's a feeling of an unbalanced energy exchange. People putting a lot in but not getting very much back. It's supposed to be a balance, and we feel that. That's what I say about connectivity. We can feel when something's not fair, feel when something's not right, and this is what a lot of the circumstances people are in, and that doesn't feel good. A lot of the time, we are able to, and this is why people say things are hard these days. In the past, that would have been okay because you could have saved money, and you still can, but not as much. So it doesn't matter how much money you can save because there's other things you can do. But the perception now is, if I am earning this income for that amount of time, then I'm not going to be able to change anything. And that's why people local are in that state, because of the vision. The vision is more powerful than any external circumstance. And I'm going to get to that now. So people are right to feel dissatisfied in these situations, and to think positive is merely an illusion. To be happy with the current situation is limiting. Breaking even every month does not mean your life is balanced. In fact, you are worse off every month because your number of days left here are fewer. While everyone should be grateful for what they have, and I do believe you can be happy in this situation as I have been, what is important is not to stay there. People ask in these situations, what is the point? So that's the first thing you need to do, which I'll get to later. But you need a reason and reasons that drive you to change your circumstances. And that's like your rock. So if you can connect to that and you can really feel that, and I'll help you do that throughout this process, but that will push you to then change the situation. So, as I said, to think positive about a situation is an illusion. So, yeah, we can't settle for these situations. You've got to change them. Because if you, in your heart, know this ain't right, then you got to act on that. And if you keep denying it, you keep listening to everyone else saying think positive, be grateful, you're going against your own feelings. We need to have some reason to live. And nothing is going to work for you if there's nothing driving you or pulling you towards it. We need to make the future real with a detailed and definite plan of what we're going to do next. Not wait and find out. As the near future that you're imagining determines a large part of your present happiness. So when we have a vision, this will motivate us. A lot of people have somewhere in the end, but the middle is not clear. There's going to be uncertainty. It's not going to have the same effect as if there was more details in the next area. So you need to work on it, you need to add more things in, and it needs to have a feeling. It can't be, I just want a house on a beach, unless it's really want to be on the south of France or something. For some reason that's used, not the south of Italy, it's just France. You don't know why, but that just gets you going. You want some cheese. I don't know, but it needs to be like that. And the vision, this is where people struggled with. The big thing with the coronavirus and lockdown is because now it's thrown the whole future off. And this happens to you might not even realise it, but this is a key. It happens so many times. You get obstacles or things go wrong, you need to be able to recenter and get that vision back on track, because the information is different. You've got a new piece of information. Okay, this has changed now. And until you can go, right, even though this has changed, I need to add something else. This is what I'm going to do. And then the vision's back on again, because the vision is fueling the movement. It's a law, in my opinion. Once the future is clearer, we must then progress towards what we want and move forward at a high enough speed to feel comfortable on this progress. The problem for the individual who feels stuck on low income and high rent is a future vision. Again, it needs to be more things like what else you're doing to change that circumstance. Are you learning? Are you getting stronger? Is your relationship getting better? Because sometimes you can't change one thing, you need to change other things. Just improve. There needs to be improvement, continual improvement. If one becomes idle, which means lack of physical activity, and they become depressed as they are not progressing, and this can happen from a vision that is not motivating enough, or physical and emotional exhaustion. People can't, they're too tired. That's why I talk about biology and the body, and that will help you. Confusion, conflicting information, lack of confidence, fear of being hurt, or fear of being stressed or something, and lack of inspiration. There's nothing that's ever came into their vision that said, right, this is a reason that's more powerful than feeling depressed. Providing the above is dealt with or is not relevant and the vision is good enough, then the individual will not be idle, as emotionally they are more balanced to movement and progress. I'll be covering progress and vision more later and how we can increase that, and information that will help you if you're stuck somewhere and you're low energy. The next time that you feel depressed, draw your vision. And then again, when you're motivated, draw a vision. Notice what's in your mind at different times. Once you feel better and less weighed down, yeah, that's good. Okay, so sadness is cause and effect. Every emotion is cause and effect. The objective here is to locate times in your life you've had significant single events or long drawn out periods of suffering that caused you to lose part of yourself, whether that's confidence or enthusiasm or something else. This presupposes there was a time before the loss when you had this confidence, love, enthusiasm, like love of self, which is where we can, love for life, draw on these emotions and bring them through to present and remove anything blocking that flow. So there are events that change, or periods that change the vision, and there are periods that change us. So think about a time where you felt the biggest drop of happiness. Where it's clear, before this time I was full of energy and enthusiastic, after this time I was not. Get specific on what it was you lost. Was it enthusiasm? Was it something else? Emotionally. Now, whether there's a feeling of loss in there, of some kind, it might be hurt, it might be anger, it might be anything for now. We're going to go through all the emotions in this. For now, it's very basic. We're going to go deeper. But just answer, what can you learn from it? Because what we hold on to emotions, like a sadness or something, is as a message for us. So if there's something in your life now that you're not doing that you used to do, that's very personal to you. And that's what the sadness is. So the sadness is saying, this is missing. I don't know why, but it's important to you. You need to incorporate that back. 5 reasons, 5 things, 10 things you can learn, because you've learnt the feeling, everything is learnt, so you want to keep that there without the feeling, and you can release feelings once you have the knowledge and it's processed properly. That's what processing is. You need to intellectually process something emotional. And then you want to plan, we're going to get onto this now, how this loss, whatever it was, can be small in the grand scheme of your life. Okay, we're going to get onto what I just asked you, and I'm going to come back to this. Okay, so just pause on that. Well, if you have a thought process, finish it and pause this video. You don't have to worry about thinking it too much, because we're going to finish that on here. So vision. With depression, you can see the arrow. It's one thing to the next thing to the next thing, and then back in a cycle. With enthusiasm, it's one, it's the next, and it's the next. It's a straight line. So be aware of how your thought process is working. Okay. So to understand depression, you have to understand happiness. Happiness is something you sit inside. It's one long moment that can be comprised of shorter moments. I've broken down happiness to joy, satisfaction, confidence, progress, meaning, and enthusiasm. There are a lot of beliefs around happiness, and most common is people expect to be happy for no reason. I believe there is always a reason, and the reason people end up with mental health issues is because they're not paying attention to the reasons as they're not aware of them. Joy is temporary, and if you imagine a bell curve, or the way a wave rolls, we experience happiness, it's lifted, and then the experience passes. There may be some temporary feelings as a result, but these soon fade away. So it's like, it's like this. Joy's alignment bring happiness, and this has improved with people that make a lot of money. They can't buy happiness, or they achieve something they had their mind on, and then they're not happy. The deeper into the realm of happiness that you live, the joys are more frequent, because you appreciate more things. They last longer. It's like, it's not where someone is unhappy and they don't get much out of something. And they last longer, or the joy is just more satisfaction. The happiest people I've ever met, who have spent their whole lives working, people over 60 seem to carry a pride of life well dedicated, and I believe this is because of what they have contributed to society every day for 40 or 50 years. This is why relatively happy people will still put up with bad jobs, because of the satisfaction they get from it. You won't be able to feel this, though, if your job is terrible, or your head is a mess, or your body is breaking, as this will mask that feeling. We have an inherent need to be useful to society, and this is why some people don't understand mental health issues. They seem to think that people with mental health issues need to go to work, disregarding the fact that people with mental health issues still work. Unfortunately, people have been sold the idea of financial freedom, so they are heading in the wrong direction, as people are never truly happy not doing anything. Those that don't work or never have worked much may think that they're happy. However, they have no idea of the pride that they're missing out on. Some people have the wrong attitude, and they don't realise everyone has to and should work. If that is you, then you may have been influenced by the wrong values. It's not your fault, but at least now you know. If someone wants this kind of financial freedom, they need to ask themselves, freedom from what? Get specific and make those changes now rather than in the future. Is it the commute? Is it the nature of your job? Is it because you're tired? Is that the only reason? Because you're exhausted? We'll go into the body so you'll be able to have energy and do all those things. Again, this is the big thing you see on the internet. This is what about. It's not true. I've seen it. Like I lived in Byron Bay, where you have $1 million houses everywhere. People have made it. The perfect beach, the perfect trees, the perfect this, the perfect that. Standard of living is through the roof. I'm seeing some people feel they're not happy. Some people are, but again, it's not. It can't be that. It's got the other things. It could be perhaps your body is in a bad way, so you're suffering, physically suffering. Most people are. Or they're too tired and they're finished work, so they can't live their lives. So it's more about putting into your body, raising your energy so you can work and live your life as well. Because the jobs, a lot of the time, a lot of them are fine. It's what you perceive as it's not enabling you to do that's the problem. Okay, so confidence works. Those who have been idle for too long can find their confidence begins to dwindle. Confidence seems to be a base level that reflects a measure of satisfaction, meaning and enthusiasm over time. Productivity and discipline plays a big role in confidence, and the reason for that is it reflects our use of time. Time is all that we have, and if you think about it, a large portion of hurt occurs because of a loss of time or money, both of which represent your life. Time can be used to go someplace, or it can be used to stay in a place. Yeah? So we either want to be where we are, or we want to be somewhere else. So we're always concerned with maximising now, or getting to the other place where we're happy quickly. Some people value their time more than others, and I believe the value we give in our time is a reflection of how happy we are and how the individual is able to utilise that time. We can have a relatively happy person, but if in all their time they're exhausted, they won't value it much as they can't use it. Meaning, you find out that the company you work for does not actually serve the best pina colada in the world as they first claimed, or perhaps the income you thought you were going to earn is unlikely. If that is the case, unlikely to earn an income at that level, and now the job you thought was going to change things and help you to do the things that are important to you, it doesn't seem like it's going to be that circumstance now. So, meaning is another element. I worked for a charity, door knocking, and loved it. It was difficult, but that was okay. It was difficult, but it was okay because I believed in the mission. I lost a large amount of meaning after this initial period when I discovered they wouldn't accept corporate donations. Refusing donations is refusing a big contribution to the completion of the mission. So in comparison, all the hard work we were doing seemed pointless in the scale of what could have been done. So my months of work seemed like they were going to be meaningless. Some organisations are very much stuck in the past. They're not embracing changes such as technology or better ways of doing things. People are unnecessarily scared to take risks. This limits the amount of customers you can help in a day and therefore how good you feel at the end of it. Whichever company you work for, whatever you do as yourself or the head of your company, you're only going to get as far as the decisions of management. And people are blocked in their thinking, which blocks maximum meaning. You can't ignore your ideas once you've thought of them, as you're continuously be comparing possibility to what you're doing now. If what you're doing now is far from what could be done, then you're going to experience that gap in meaning. So I believe we must continuously adapt as our ideas come to us. On the other hand, people perceive a lack of meaning and they aren't actually seeing all the good value they bring to other people's lives or to their customers. It's good to want to do more and to contribute, but it's also important to do the good, keep the good that you're doing in sight. So you need to expand on it. If your job, it doesn't have a sense of meaning, there's like, you've got to think about the customers. You've got to really put in your mind, not just, okay, the idea of customers, but each individual person. It's like, okay, I did all this today. Or think about the future effects or the ongoing effects of that. And it's like, and then you can enable yourself to recenter. Some people don't know what they want to do. That doesn't matter. If you don't know, as it might be years yet before you do know, just ask the question, what does society need most? That will pay a higher wage and may have better conditions for you until now you find what is important to you. Finally, meaning is a linking process. This means that. So it's something that we have control over by using our mind. Don't concern yourself with life purpose if you don't think you have one. Just concentrate on doing things with purpose, just doing the best you can do. We are constantly doing this, so it is something to be aware of, as we can misguide you for a false promise, or it can be a false promise, so it can paint a worst case scenario picture. We're constantly doing this. Oh yeah, meaning, like, so we're always doing it. So if you think something happens, a lot of people jump to worst case scenario. It's the meaning that they're deriving from it. This means that. So you need to be careful of what, in your current experience, what's happening in your mind. More effort. Yeah, you have the power to create meaning in people's lives. More effort into something is more quality and therefore more meaning for yourself and someone else. Finally, enthusiasm. There is a uniqueness to an individual's enthusiasm. Some want to be in a certain location, some want to do certain things. Whatever it is, it cannot be denied or ignored, as it is something that springs to life in people whenever they think of it. We have our preferences, and these change over time. For some people, it's their children, and when they grow up, something is missing. There is always a need for enthusiasm as a driving force. In the beginning of that job I mentioned, I was excited. It wasn't ultimately what I wanted to do, but I knew that if I went to work and came home feeling like I made a difference that day, I'd have all this positive energy that I could then put into my evening work, which is what I really wanted to do long term. After the feeling of meaning dropped, so did my vision of the near future. A projection of feeling good daily. I no longer had the same energy level and I lost enthusiasm, and it wasn't long until I decided to leave. Often though, people stay somewhere long after the enthusiasm is gone, or if the meaning changes, and it is sad to have seen people stuck in some places when they would have been happier elsewhere or more valued by another company. I believe people struggle with noticing what feelings are telling them, because feelings become mixed through experience. There is a sadness in enthusiasm or disappointment sometimes. Or there is a doubt in the enthusiasm. And you can become more aware of this the more you start to investigate. The flow of an emotion stops as soon as someone will become enthusiastic for something, but then they don't act on it. This can happen as it gets blocked by the beliefs previously mentioned earlier, such as not knowing how or not feeling something is not possible. Also, numbness would have been like a big light bulb moment. It's just like a flicker. People don't think things are possible because they don't think them through enough. They stop thinking at the point where they say it's not possible because of X. Though, have you ever noticed some of the things you're unhappy about never go away? Or there are some things that you are always interested in and they continue to reappear in your mind. Unfortunately, when you deny enthusiasm, it leaves you, and over time becomes less and less intense. Enthusiasm seems to be king. I'll end the video series on enthusiasm because there was times I definitely had mental health issues. I had anxiety for sure between the ages of 12 to 17. We become quite mixed as I got to about 18, 19. Started getting confident, and there was loads of reasons. I had a good social circle, and I was good. Then when I got to 19, I found hypnotherapy. I had an enthusiasm, and none of the anxiety or anything mattered because I had this power that would just push me forwards and forwards and forwards. And this is what you're looking for. I had it again when I was DJing, when I was 20, 21, and I'll talk about it more at the end because there's a way we can lose enthusiasm as well. And while this point where I had mental health issues quite strongly, they got worse over time, probably to about the age of 26, 27, 20, I'm 28 now, so it's 26, 25 was kind of the worst part. But understanding how enthusiasm works is really, really important because it's like the driving force, because happiness is separate to mental health. They're two completely different things. And we'll be discussing mental health more in the next chapter, and at the end we'll finish on enthusiasm. Because the mental health condition did not matter if enthusiasm was there. I'll talk about it later because it'll make more sense later. But you need to have the mental health issues to keep it in control, because the enthusiasm will drive you, but again it can stop with limiting beliefs and different things are disturbing this energy. So you need to know mental health too. I definitely had mental health issues with the enthusiasm I have. So in terms of it overcame the anxiety, so it was mixed, but there was no depression. Depression is separate. It's completely different. Stress and anxiety are similar because of adrenaline, but depression is different. There was no depression, there was no need to get motivated at that time, as I was in a state of continuing excitement. And that's what I'm saying. As I was piecing this back together, because I had a back injury, I was 25, I was able to start thinking about how things changed. So I started deriving myself from stress and from fear and from worrying about the future. It changed me. So I was always asked, how do I get back to that continuous, even once I fixed my mental health, how do I get back to that energy and that strength? We'll go over that later. With enthusiasm, you can have absolutely nothing in the external world and receive happiness and satisfaction from thought alone. The idea of what is going to pop into my mind today is the thoughts drive. You don't get lonely or bored as you have no need for chemicals, caffeine, smoking or any form of crux. You find no desire to use time in entertainment or escapism as your own vision is more compelling. People who get bored or lonely are not fully immersed in enthusiasm, or there's something blocking the flow of it. And as a result, this blocks how they feel and the things they do. While people never get the chance to be truly enthusiastic as they have never been inspired. Inspiration is what leads to enthusiasm, and I define inspiration as something that comes from someone else, whereas enthusiasm is what comes from within you. People get inspiration from entertainment, which will satisfy them temporarily, though if you're able to give enthusiasm, then the supply is infinite and never-ending. Inspiration and enthusiasm are personal and different for all people, as we all have different interests, which is what makes a subject fascinating. Enthusiasm really is the secret to all of this, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't have it. A lot of people weren't given the opportunity to be inspired. Some people only make healthy choices because of their kids, which says their desire for themselves is not strong enough to be alive. So it's got to be at the point where you find feelings and reasons that are beyond another individual. So it's about you being here and being alive. What is it for you? If you're enthusiastic, that will fix your health as you'll want to be here and make healthy choices. If you're enthusiastic, that will fix your relationships as you have energy to bring into it. When you feel enthusiastic, it gives you direction and action, and either there is something that you're really enthusiastic about or there is not. If there isn't, you can fill out this form I'm going to give you. This life is far too short to not live with enthusiasm. People put too much emphasis on knowing exactly what it is they want to do with their lives, so don't worry about the whole thing. Times are different these days and more access to information, so rather than trying to figure out one profession for life, you could probably do 3 or 4. You just need to enthusiasm to last you 3 to 6 months to keep you going, and then it's a matter of staying enthusiastic. Okay, sometimes it changes. It doesn't have to be the thing you do for life. Just do this, and on the process of staying an enthusiastic way of living, eventually you may find the thing that you want to do forever. And again, enthusiasm drops, you've got to recenter your vision. The absolute worst thing you can do is sit around and do nothing, because that's not good for you and it's not good for anyone else. People who are not going out to life are not seeing the joy that they could be bringing to others. So you've got to get out there and live your life. What am I going to... So, okay, if you haven't been inspired, what am I going to do to be inspired and to find enthusiasm? There needs to be a plan, and write a date on it as well. And just don't stop until you find it. And if you have been inspired in the past, who was it that inspired you? Try and find as many different memories and moments as you can of these were the times, and write down why it inspired you, why it was important to you. Because why makes you go in deeper. Why is a question that makes you go into your mind. And if the deeper down you go, the more feelings you're going to get out. And it might make sense in a story format. Okay.